So I also think it's good for TJ Watt. He can play for a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Pittsburgh is not. He's a great kid from a great family. He's all ball. And Pittsburgh's got too many big cap hits on the defensive side.
You know what, guys? It's been 30 years since the Cowboys won their last NFC championship and Super Bowl. They've won their division multiple times after that, but just couldn't move beyond the wild card round. So what do they need to do differently to end this long championship drought? Or I should say, what does Christian Parker need to do differently? Because look, our offense is all set. Like, they are already playing at a high level, honestly. It's the defense that's been holding them back, and that's exactly why they brought in Christian Parker. Now, I believe there's one move sitting right there on the table that could turn this defense from a liability into an absolute nightmare for every quarterback in the NFC. And I'm telling you, if Jerry pulls this trigger, we're not just talking about a playoff run. We're talking about a legitimate championship conversation.
What's up, Cowboys? Welcome to the NFL Playbook, Cowboys. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Oh, look, every single offseason, Jerry Jones comes out and talks about evaluating where things went wrong, figuring out what needs to change, and making the roster better. I mean, we've heard that song before, right? But this offseason genuinely feels different. Like, the moves they've been making, the names they've been adding, it really does feel like the organization is approaching things with a different mindset. You've got Jerry Jones, you've got Will McClay, you've got Christian Parker, the coaching staff all sitting down together, looking at this thing honestly and saying, okay, what do we actually have to do better? And I think for the first time in a long time, the answer isn't just talk. Now, before we get into the big move I'm talking about, let me just say this about our offseason. The Cowboys went out and got guys like Caleb Downs and Malachi Lawrence in the draft. And you know what's funny to me? Before the draft, everybody was raving about these guys. Like, every analyst, every scout, every talking head was saying these are elite prospects. The Cowboys draft them, and suddenly, oh, it was a reach. That was a dumb pick. I don't know about that one. I mean, come on. That's just what happens when you're America's team, right? People just can't give us credit. But I see what's being built here, and I like it. And then there's Dak Prescott. I caught some footage of him recently at a public event. And guys, I'm telling you, he looks incredible, lean, sharp, healthy. And think about what this man has been through: a catastrophic ankle injury, and then that hamstring that got pulled clean off the bone. Like, those are the kinds of injuries that end careers, or at least change players permanently. But looking at him now, I genuinely believe he is finally truly fully healed, both from that ankle and from the hamstring. And when you've got a healthy Dak running an offense that's already operating at a high level, I mean, the sky is honestly the limit. If this team stays healthy, I think Dak is going to have a season that reminds everybody exactly why we believed in him. Real quick on George Pickens, because I know people are watching that situation. Dak already came out and addressed it. He said he's shown George his support, that George signed the tag, and when it's time to be there and be ready, he's going to be there. And honestly, Dak seemed genuinely comfortable with where things stand. He called George a hell of a talent and said they've been throwing together this offseason. So look, I'm not going to sit here and manufacture drama around this. The Cowboys aren't sweating it. Dak isn't sweating it, and I think we shouldn't either. George Pickens is a problem for defenses when he's locked in, and from everything we're hearing, he's going to be locked in. So the offense, Dak, George Pickens, this whole unit, I mean, they're in a good place. That's not where my concern is. My concern, and I think most honest Cowboys fans would agree, is the defense. And that's where Christian Parker comes in. That's the whole reason they brought him in, and I think Christian Parker knows exactly what he needs. You can have a good defense, you can have a decent pass rush, but if you want to be a championship level defense, you need that one guy, that one legitimate superstar edge rusher that quarterbacks have nightmares about. And that brings me to the move that's being talked about out there, TJ Watt. Now look, before you say anything, hear me out. I know the first reaction is the Steelers would never trade TJ Watt. And honestly, right now, today, I'm not sure they would either. They just brought in Aaron Rodgers, right? And you don't sign Aaron Rodgers and then turn around and ship out arguably your best player on the roster. That doesn't make sense on the surface. Here's where it gets interesting. You've got to look at the numbers. TJ Watt's cap number right now is $42 million, and if he's traded after June 1st, the Steelers only eat $10 million in dead money, and they save $32 million. That is a massive chunk of change, and when you start looking at his production recently, the conversation starts making more sense. I mean, back in 2023, the man was an absolute monster. 19 sacks, played all 17 games, was the best defensive player in football. Then 2024 comes around, still 17 games, but 11.5 sacks, and then this past season, 14 games, 7 sacks, 55 combined tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 19 quarterback hits. Like, those are not bad numbers, but for TJ Watt, that's a decline. And he's 32 years old. You've got to be honest about that. Now, the argument being made, and I think it's a legitimate one, is that Pittsburgh is going to need to rebuild. Aaron Rodgers is 43 years old. You're not counting on him as your future. So if you're the Steelers, do you really want TJ Watt sitting there eating $42 million a year during a rebuild? Or do you move him now, get something back, save the cap space, and start fresh? Because this is the lesson that a lot of organizations have learned the hard way. You hold on too long to expensive veterans, the wheels fall off, and you get nothing back. We've lived that ourselves with guys like Tyron Smith. We held on and got zero trade value. Compare that to how we handled Osa Odohizwa. We actually moved that contract and got something back. More than we ever got for Amari Cooper, by the way, and that's just facts. Rod Goren, organizational move. If you're Pittsburgh, might genuinely be to look at this situation clearly and say TJ Watt had more trade value 2 years ago than he does right now, and he's going to have less value 2 years from now than he does today. The window to move him is right now. And if the Cowboys were to make that call, guys, think about what that defensive front looks like. You've got TJ Watt coming off the edge alongside Malachi Lawrence, Sam Williams, Donovan Azeroku, and Rashawn Gary. I mean, that is a rotation that would terrify offensive coordinators. That takes this defense from sitting somewhere around the bottom of the league to instantly being a top 15 unit without any question. And combined with the interior defensive line that's already there, I mean, you'd be talking about a genuinely elite defense. Look, Donovan Azeruaku, I want to make sure I mention this because the kid is putting in work. He had hip surgery earlier in the offseason, and he's already out there getting after it. We're in mid-May. Training camp is still a way out, so there's plenty of time to get right. I love seeing that kind of commitment. That's exactly the type of player you want in that locker room. Now, the question I keep coming back to is, would Jerry actually make this move? Would he go get TJ Watt? I think the right way to think about it is, what would a really aggressive, forward-thinking general manager do here? A guy like Howie Roseman would be on the phone already. He'd be trying to get the best of the best. He wouldn't sit back and wait and hope. He'd be proactive, he'd be aggressive, and he'd find a way to make it work. So, Jerry, the ball's in your court on this one. The Cowboys have already shown this offseason they're willing to make moves they haven't made in the past. This would just be the biggest one yet. Now, everybody is asking whether the Eagles can win the division for a third straight year. And look, I'll be honest, the Eagles are still a good football team. Nobody's saying they fell off a cliff, but are they the same Eagles that won the Super Bowl? I don't think so. Not right now, at least. They've taken some hits. There's been some controversy. They've got yet another new offensive coordinator coming in with a totally different system. And their offensive line isn't getting any younger. That's just reality. And then there's the A.J. Brown situation. I mean, you don't usually get better by getting rid of really good players. A.J. Brown is the alpha of that receiving room. He's the guy you go to when you need something to happen. Devonta Smith is talented, absolutely. But A.J. Brown changes games in a way that's hard to replace. The Eagles are going to look very different on offense this year, more inside the numbers, more tight end heavy, more dependent on the running game. That's a significant change for Jalen Hurts and the whole operation. Meanwhile, the Cowboys, for once, have had a relatively clean offseason. Less drama, more focused moves, better direction. And with a healthy Dak, a loaded receiving room, a developing pass rush, and Christian Parker installing a new defensive identity, I genuinely feel like this is the year things are supposed to come together. I'm not promising anything because, look, nobody knows exactly how a season unfolds, but the pieces are there in a way they haven't been in a long time. The Cowboys just need to go get that one final piece and make it happen.